So we need to look at the reasons for the advancement of gender inequality in Britain between about 1900 and the year 2000. We're going to analyse the factors behind the developments. Here are all the key words. We'll go through them during the lesson. So factor one we look at often is votes. In the year 1900, women were not allowed to vote. By 1921 or so, women were allowed to vote. By 1919, they first got the right to vote. And so this women's suffrage movement is the first big social movement for females in Britain to get them some sort of equality, and it's voting equality. The next big factor was to do with war, both World War I and World War II. During both these conflicts, women were made or had to do many of the heavy labouring manufacturing jobs that had previously been done by men. Before the wars, it was held that women couldn't do these jobs. Now, during the war, women got used to the fact, you know what, I can do these jobs, I'm perfectly capable of doing them, and you know what, I quite like having my own wages. So the war caused a change in the attitude of women towards work and their own money. Schools. From 1945 onwards in Britain, secondary schools were compulsory and primary education was much improved. Now with education, women are no longer needed to do a lot of full-time childcare because now there are schools. So it frees up a lot of time for women to be able to get jobs. So in the war means they can do jobs. After the war, they can have their kids at school so they can carry on doing their jobs. The big one really is feminist thought from the 1960s onwards. So the feminist movement in the 60s first voiced the idea of the patriarchy, the oppression of women by men, male violence, how domestic duties, housewifery should be paid, that sort of thing. A lot of it was anti-marriage, and it was to do with sexual liberation. How come women are called slags if they have many sexual partners? So again, this is the intellectual underpinning, if you like. So these are economic changes. So political change and economic changes, and then a theoretical change. And it's linked to contraception. In the 1960s, the contraceptive pill was invented, and for the first time ever, women were in control of their own fertility. They could decide how many kids they had and when. So if they wanted to put off having kids in order to have a job, it was never very easy for them. And linked to that, as of course, is family size. Women work more, they have the pill, and therefore they can decide how many kids to have. If they decide to have 2 kids, again, it frees up a lot more time for them to have a job. If you add that to the changes in life expectancy, you can have 2 children and you're pretty confident they both survive. Linked to that, again, female employment. We've talked about this many times. As the economy changes, as manual labour and heavy industry declines, clerical work, sales work, shop work that involves soft skills that females often have, that increases. So there are now a lot more jobs for women. And finally, domestic technology. With the dishwasher and the washing machine, etc., etc., it now doesn't take 10 hours a day to look after a household. It only takes a couple. So put all these factors together, you have a very different picture of what life's like for women in Britain.